Hi, I'm Catherine from Crime Psych. In last week's video, I discussed some of the views of different groups of people about why there's been such an increase in knife crime. In this video, I'm going to be discussing some of my own views and thoughts about why there has been an increase. These views and thoughts are based on my own experience and knowledge about psychology and about the way that we learn and the way that we communicate. We have a vast range of factors to consider when we want to examine the causes of knife crime. People are being stabbed for numerous reasons, which can include gang involvement, robbery as part of violence in general, and sometimes people are being stabbed just for being different. So it's extremely difficult to come up with one universal reason of why knife crime is increasing, and as such, what we should be doing to decrease the numbers. Some of the people that I've spoken to have blamed the parents for not disciplining their children properly. However, when I spoke with a parent last week, they'd said that they'd always been very strict with their children, and then they found a knife hidden in their son's room. When they asked him why he had it, he told them that it was just for messing about with in his friend's garden. Let's say this younger boy had gone out and was attacked by a group of older boys. Once that knife is upon his person somewhere, the tendency to use it is going to be there. Other people have blamed police cuts and the inability to have as many police walking the beat as what there used to be. However, it has been proven in several studies that an increase in police presence wouldn't significantly reduce crime. At this point, it becomes difficult to avoid slipping into political discussions about money and police cuts. There has been an ever-growing increase in knife crime in the UK, though. Many young people are putting themselves and others at risk by just carrying a knife. There's a big focus on gangs and knife crime. Members of gangs in some areas have certainly been the cause for a substantial rise in knife crime numbers. Involvement in drugs has also no doubt had some kind of impact on the numbers too. However, what about the ordinary young people who don't do drugs, who aren't part of a gang? Even these young people are ever increasingly arming themselves with knives. The increase in the availability of knives will almost certainly have some kind of impact. However, knives were available before the sudden increase in crime rate numbers. Therefore, it can't be the only factor. In my opinion, everyone's attitude to knife crime is the main thing that has changed in society. We're being fed a stream of media reports about the increases in knife crime. We see politicians arguing about police cuts, hinting it leads to more and more crime. Nobody can escape the constant stream of media reports on the subject. I believe that this, amongst other things, has contributed to the rise in knife crime. Normal, everyday young people are now carrying knives with them as a just-in-case measure. And these young people are not trouble causers, they're not gang members, they're not drug dealers, they're not drug users. These are our children who are afraid of what might happen to them. It's become somewhat normal to carry a knife. Inevitably, when trouble starts, somebody is going to get hurt. And I believe that the general public's attitude towards knife crime has changed over the past 10 years or so. 10 years ago, knife crime still existed. However, the public perception was that this was an inner city incident. These incidents were occurring more frequently within inner cities. However, over time, ordinary young people and all members of the public are much more aware of the dangers of being a victim of knife crime. So what's caused these changes to happen? Perhaps social media has played a large part in it. With the use of the internet and social media about crimes, it's become much more easier than it ever has been to circulate news stories of that type. These don't have to be from reputable publishing companies. Anyone can post absolutely anything these days. Perhaps there's a lack of face-to-face interaction amongst young people in the way that they communicate. The majority of the time, our young people are communicating through a device, which is usually their phone or their computer. There's much less face-to-face human interaction going on. With the increase in social media and the internet, younger people will often hide behind a mask of anonymity and say really abusive things online. Cyberbullying is now a major problem in some areas. Actions have much less measurable consequences when they occur online. So what if this lack of empathy has somehow changed the way that people interact in real life situations? It's not going to be a conscious or a measurable thing. If I were to ask young people about how they interacted and empathised with people, they'd probably tell me that they interact the same as everybody else does. But I do believe that a large amount of interaction online has changed the way that people think and the way that people behave. We are exposed to a massive amount of information that we wouldn't have seen if it weren't for the internet and social media. Social media uses algorithms to feed you content that they think that you're gonna like and gonna watch, and so you become more and more addicted. I watched a program called The Great Hack on Netflix. Watch it if you haven't seen it, because it's absolutely fascinating. And that program revealed how Cambridge Analytica was able to influence voters in elections, which included the US presidential elections, as well as Brexit. The details of that documentary showed how the content of social media feeds was able to change people's attitudes and, as such, influence their behaviour. As much as everybody likes to deny it, the use of social media can and does change attitude and behaviour. There are obviously multiple causes for the increase in knife crime, though, and I'm in no way blaming social media alone or the internet alone for that. There is an established programme that can be implemented to reduce serious violent crime. I will talk more about that in the next video that I do. I do hope that you've found this video interesting and that you've learned something from it. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch it. Bye for now.